Okay, good morning and welcome to yet another presentation in the recurring virtual seminar by the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies. First of all, I want to appreciate each and every one of us for finding the time to join us every Monday, this hour, and also finding the time to share your intellectual, I would say, property with us, for contributing to intellectual discourse, and for also making this series a success that we have all come to agree that it is. I'm starting before 11, 4 minutes to 11. The reason being that we have two presenters today, and the two presenters are our colleagues from other institutions. But that is not the main reason. The main reason is the fact that I need to do one or two house cleaning up, and more importantly, to ensure that we wrap up at exactly 1 hour. Okay, again, I thank you. Let me state that as part of the cleaning, house cleaning, that our quarterly report is ready. It will be available online when the website, the main website for the center is up and running. We are strongly emphasizing and mentoring accountability, not in terms of financial issues, because some of us would think accountability has to do with how we spend money and what have you. But more importantly, how we spend the time and what we've been doing. So whoever is coming to at least take care of this center will have a tradition that he or she can, accept, modify, or reject. But for now, we have the quarterly report, and the one for between March, when we started, and June is ready. Also important is to tell you that our August schedule is filled up. September, I think we have maybe 1 or 2 space. So we quite appreciate those of us that are finding it possible to present and then share their knowledge with us. Learning has always occurred, and I strongly believe we all learn whenever we are here. We are challenged, we are stimulated, and that is important. So if you are interested in presenting, again, please get in touch with us on CEMGS at noun.edu.ng. Also important as part of the house clearing is to inform you that the deadline for the submission of your paper or your booklet for consideration is fast approaching, and we will be looking forward to receiving that. Particularly for those that have presented, you can update and then submit for peer review, and then we can get you published. You do not have to pay for us getting you published. I have said that as long as I am the director here, you will not pay for your intellectual property. In my 32 years, I've never paid to publish, not because I spent some years overseas. I started somewhere in Jalingo, and then moving to LASU, I've never paid to publish my intellectual property. So you will not be charged if you submit any paper to us. And I think I have the backing of our promoter, our founder, the vice chancellor, who deem it fit to utilize, welcome sir, this the grant to start it up and decided to do this. So we really appreciate him. So in earnest, it is 11 a.m. and the two presenters are sharing with us what we have in our migration observatory. Migration observatory is a key, in fact, is the cockpit of the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies. The Migration Observatory, as you know, somewhere in Oxford University and the global practice, is a database. And the Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdallah Uba Adamu, has been generous, as we all know, posting and giving us all those enormous publications, peer review, and those are going into our Migration Observatory when the independent website, because that is the only place we can really accommodate most of this. So out of those many things that he has shared with us is the two articles that are being examined today. And let me try and project. The first person that will talk to us is a colleague from Adeleke University. He is an associate professor, as well as the head of Department of Languages and Literary Studies. Dr. Adegbite Tobalashe is looking at one of the publications that the VC sent to us initially. The second person is Dr. Maruf Oladejo. Dr. Maruf Oladejo is the founder of EPNET. He's also an education specialist from the University of Lagos, and he will be looking at another publication that is in our Migration Observatory session. Today, they've reviewed the article and the book, respectively, and then they will speak. The first speaker will speak for 15 minutes because of the length, not because of the import of the article. That is Dr. Tobalashe. They've both been briefed, and then the second person will speak for 20 or 25 minutes. Reason being that is a bigger, larger, more voluminous publication that is, dissecting for us. Dr. Tobalashe is, let me see, I think he's here with us. I want to unmute him while I'm trying to look out for the Tobalashe. Let me see. Come on. I know I saw him signing in now. I'm going to unmute everyone so that Dr. Tobalashe, Dr. Oladejo is here with us. I can see his, what is going second, but in the absence of Dr. Tobalashe being in and out, I will just allow Dr. Oladejo to proceed. I don't know who is in finished 6, but let me unmute all of us, and then I just need both Dr. Tobalashe and Dr. Oladejo. We can have seen you. But Dr. Tobalashe, if you are there, kindly tell me how you sign in. Dr. Tobalashe. Okay, I guess he's, although he told me there's...
This is my phone before they rotate. Go on, they rotate.
Oh, Jesus. See, that is why we mute. Some of us are still learning the ethics of I guess I will proceed with Dr. Oladejo. Let me try and project his PowerPoint. And again, please, I've told both presenters that they can speak to their PowerPoint if we are having technical issue here, so that there will be no delay. Okay, Dr. Maruf Akinwale Oladejo is of the Department of Educational Management, University of Lagos. And like I said, he is the founder also of a research group called EPNET. It's a body of scholars in a multidisciplinary way. Dr. Oladejo, I will unmute you, and then you can speak while we, Dr. Okay, I've asked you to unmute, please. So unmute yourself, Dr. Oladejo.
I've done that.
Okay, thank you very much. So you have 25 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdallah Adamu, the Pioneer Director, Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, National Open University of Nigeria, Abuja, Professor Hakeem Ibikunle Tijani, distinguished professors, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I am most grateful to the organizer of this program, Professor Hakeem Ibikunle, for giving me the opportunity to come on board this morning to present a book review. The title of the book that I reviewed is Irregular Migration from Nigeria, Causes, Risk, and Policy Implications. This book was written by Olaoluwa in 2019, and it was published by UNESCO West Africa Regional Office. I will start by taking a look at the author's profile. While reviewing the book, I tried to first of all establish whether or not the author is eminently qualified to write this book. And having gone through the background of the author, I discovered that he is currently a senior research fellow and head, Diaspora and Transnational Program of the Institute of African Studies at the University of Ibadan. The author, Olaoluwa also had a PhD in African literature from the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg in South Africa. With this little background, I am convinced that the author is eminently qualified to write this book. He's also a migrant. He has experienced migration because he got his PhD even outside the country. So he is eminently qualified to write the book. Now, about the book itself, I first of all reviewed the major purpose of this book. What is the main goal for behind the author's decision to write this book? The book has it as its main goal the compilation of causes, appraisal of the risk, and the analysis of the import and efficacy of policies in order to give recommendations and make sense of one of the most pressing issues of our time. And what is that issue? The issue of irregular migration. That is the major focus of the book. And of course, the book is structured around that purpose. In other words, the structure of this book make it to have 3 major chapters. Chapter 1 focuses on causes. Chapter 2 focuses on the risk, while the last chapter examines policy implications. So the book is structured around 3 major chapters. But what about the motivation? What actually motivated the author to write this book? Having critically reviewed the book, I came to a conclusion that the author, Dr. Olaoluwa, was majorly motivated to write this book because of two questions that I came up with. What are these questions? The first one is, what can be done to free the thousands of people trapped in Libya? The second one is, how do we stop migrant souls from being lost in the Mediterranean? So these 2 questions actually formed the motivational factors behind the author's decision to write this book. He was preoccupied by the need for us to free thousands of people that were trapped in Libya, and those that, to prevent those that usually lose their souls in the Mediterranean, all in the name of crossing to the global north. Now, what about the author's thesis? What is the major thesis that the author propounded as far as this book is concerned? The author laid claim to one thesis, and that thesis is that the combination forces of inequality, insecurity, globalization, and advancement in technology have all created massive upheavals in many far-flung societies. And this had in turn been pushing people out of places they actually call their home into foreign spaces, usually the Europe and America. That is the claim, that is the thesis of the author. But did the author make any concrete solution? I would say yes, because the author proposed strict enforcement of migration policies to discourage irregular migration. Having said that about the author's thesis, what about my own thesis? How do I perceive the attainment of the author's thesis? With the review that I did, I discovered that the quality and accuracy of the author's thesis is never in doubt. He was able to actually nail the issue of irregular migration vis-a-vis various factors that he examined, which I'm going to briefly talk on later. So, persuasively arguing against the irregular migration, Dr. Olaoluwa successfully exposes the need for strict enforcement of migration policy. To do what? To discourage irregular migration. So, from various perspectives, I discovered that the author really understood the problem of irregular migration. Now, what about the structure? Like I said, the book is structured around 3 major chapters. Chapter 1, causes. Chapter 2, risk. And chapter 3, policy implications. So, all these come under author's argument. It came under author's argument. So, the first argument has to do with author's the causes that the author actually discussed. The author, Dr. Olaoluwa, was able to actually come up with nothing less than 21 courses, even though I still have some reservations that I will point out later. He was able to come up with 21 various courses that could be responsible, or will I say that are actually responsible for this irregular migration. There are some of these courses that are, of course, self-explanatory, that I wouldn't want to really spend much time on. For example, the issue of peer pressure, the issue of popular opinion, the issue of family pressure. Some of these are actually self-explanatory. But there are some that I felt that as the reviewer of the book, I really need to let the audience know what they mean. And what are these courses? The author talked about dystopia mentality. What does it mean? It simply means one having a kind of negative perceptions about one's country. For example, because the book actually focuses on Nigeria. So when we talk of that dystopia mentality, it's talking about Nigerians having negative perceptions about Nigeria, about our country, concluding that Nigeria as a country is never a place where success can be attained. You can't achieve your success. You can't achieve your goal. The dream that you have, you can never come to reality. So when we have this behind our mind, at the back of our mind, we will be tempted to want to embark on irregular migration. The author also talked about undulating legality. What does it mean? This is a situation whereby somebody gets to a foreign country legally, but due to one factor or the other, or perhaps a predetermined agenda, you now turn into an illegal immigrant because the document that the person actually used had expired. So you are now trying to see how you can now become another. You came in as a legal migrant, later turned to illegal, then you are trying to turn yourself into another legal migrant. That is undulating legality. Then the issue of redemptive mentality as a factor. Some people, the author had it as his belief that some people usually have this redemptive mentality, that it is only when you go outside the country, outside Nigeria, for instance, that you can actually, break the poverty, the family poverty. So by so doing, you have to go outside the country by all possible means. So there are other factors that the author actually identified. Another one that I quickly want to talk on is the planetary binary. What does this one mean? These people that actually embark on irregular migration, they have within themselves, they have demarcated the globe, the world, into two: the global north and the global south, with the belief that the global north is advanced technologically. The global north, when you get there, even the sand there is more or less money. So you must leave the global south for the global north before you can really make it in life. So, but in all, the author, like I said, identified 21 courses. Some of them are, of course, self-explanatory. Now, then still on the author's arguments, we are now talking about the risk. And this is the most important aspect of this document. Why? It is because the author, having convinced that the problem of irregular migration needs to be really nipped in the bud. Decided to come up with risk, various categories of risk that are actually associated with irregular migration. The belief here is that once we are able to we have an idea about the risk ahead, then we may be discouraged from, from embarking on this type of migration, which is the regular one. So basically, the author identified physical risk, financial risk, social risk, political, sold into slavery, and so on and so forth. But under physical risk, the author was able to really talk about risk while irregular migrants are trying to cross the Nigerian Sahara Desert, those that are associated with crossing the Algerian Sahara Desert, crossing the Mediterranean Sea from Libya to Italy, crossing the Mediterranean Sea from Morocco to Spain. All these are risks that are physical. And basically, when we talk of physical, we're talking about kidnapping, banditry, armed nomads, deaths. In fact, the author went to the extent of saying that in 2018, 2,209 people died in the Mediterranean Sea, or they even went missing. So this is a typical example of physical risk that are associated with irregular migration. What about financial risk? Financial risk in the sense that there is usually unrealistic estimates. You can never, the irregular migrant can never accurately say that this is how much he or she is going to pay, to spend, to be able to soldier and to food the entire trip, because of some other challenges that may even crop up. What if the irregular migrant is kidnapped or sick, and so on and so forth? So there is this unrealistic estimate. In fact, the system, according to the author, the system that is now in place is pay-as-you-go system. What does that one mean? When you get to Libya, you pay. From Libya to another place, you pay. So when you are done with a particular trip, you pay. So with that, there is financial risk, because the irregular migrant will not be able to really say this is the total amount of money he or she is going to spend. Then what about social risk in terms of discrimination? When you get to wherever you are going, the irregular migrants, and of course you are more or less illegal. I'm still coming to that. So this social discrimination is still there. Then what about political risk? You may not know whether there is a rebel movement, there is a civil war. You just go there and you will be trapped. So there is under political risk, there is the possibility of being caught in the crossfire. There is possibility of what the author called conscription. That is, once they know that you are illegal, then you may be forced into their armed forces, then you go to war. So there is this risk of being sold into slavery. Of course, all of us, we are living witnesses to what Nigerians and some other Africans went through in Libya. So what about medical risk? When someone becomes sick, an irregular migrant, you become sick along the way. This will also translate into financial risk, because the money will be spent on taking care of your health. So closely related to the issue of medical risk is what the author called organ harvesting. Some people, they will forcefully take their kidney. They may even sell it because they don't have money. The regular migrant might even be forced to sell off part of their organs, even for rituals. There is surrogacy, whereby because they know you are irregular migrants, He will ask you to help them carry pregnancy that you will not, in the long run, claim to be the father or the mother. So these are some of the, or even illness. These are some of the medical risks that an irregular migrant will face. Then what about risk for women and children, rape, torture, enslavement, and so on and so forth. And the last risk that the author actually identifies is, has to do with downgraded social and economic status. We have seen some people, a family, a couple, well-to-do in Nigeria, they still resign because of some perhaps mentality. They are living fine in Nigeria, but they still believe, no, when you get to US, when you get to America, the sand there are even dollars, you don't need to work too much, you get your money. So with that, when you now go there, but because of the need to be able to fit into that receiving country, the status of the irregular migrant might be downgraded because they may say, because you're irregular, you can't use your certificate, this and that. So these are the risks that are actually associated with irregular migration. Then I'm still on the author's argument. The last chapter focuses on the policies, and the author actually did a good job here. He was able to really come up with policies within the domestic country, for example, Nigeria, as a case study. Policies, I'm talking about migration policies. Migration policies in the transit or intermediary countries, like Libya, Sudan, Morocco, Niger. Then policies in the destination countries, Italy, UK, US. But what I actually, because I read everything, and that is the essence of the book review, the author cited Nigeria migration policy of 2015 that has 8 chapters and set out the objectives. But there are some aspects of this policy that did not actually address the issue of irregular migration.
Dr. Ladejo, you have 2 minutes.
Or intermediary countries, because the notion that irregular
Dr. Ladejo, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Well, I was actually saying that you have 2 minutes. Unfortunately, I think there's a technical. You are back. Can you hear us, sir? Well, I would like to thank Dr. Oladejo for that presentation. Please, if you have questions or comments, kindly private chat with me. Instead of raising up your hand, it means that I have to scroll and scroll to see whether or not you're raising up hand. Please private chat with me and tell me you have a question or you have a comment. We will have a minute for such after the second presentation. I've asked Dr. Tobalashe, okay, is now, Dr. Tobalashe can proceed. I think Dr. Ladejo is having technical issues. Dr. Tobalashe, before you rejoin us, we were having technical issue also at this end. I believe one of the participants, I don't know how he did it, try to share and then screw up my own capability to share. And that is why I've been in and out, on the video to sort it out. But in any case, we must always remember Mr. Wong, preparation, preparation, and preparation. So in other words, plan, plan, plan. So we have this platform, you have the floor, sir. Can you proceed? In other words, I will not be able to project your PowerPoint. I have shared the PowerPoint for those of you that are with us on Telegram and WhatsApp. You have the PowerPoint, and then you can follow. For the people that are not on that platform, please also email us with your phone number. We will add you to Telegram. Email CEMGS, lowercase, CEMGS at noun.edu.ng, and then we'll be glad to add you for subsequent presentation. Dr. Tobalashe, you have 15 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Dr. Tobalashe? We can't hear you. We cannot hear you, Dr. Tobalashe. If you are hearing us, can you adjust your audio? We cannot hear you. I guess I will do justice to that. I'll present what Dr. Tobalashe has sent to us. If there is any error or questions, those will go to him. I did not prepare for any question, but I can engage in dialogue. It is not my thesis. Neither am I ready for, but that's a joke. Dr. Tobalashe has reviewed, and you can come in whenever this thing is up. Your system is going up and down, Dr. Tobalashe, but we cannot hear you here. He has been asked to review the article titled From Climate Migration to Anthropocene Mobilities, Shifting the Debate, a critique. Introduction. In this presentation, it was his intention to kill two birds with one stone. That is Dr. Tobalashe's position. Second, explain what a book or article review entails. And then third, deconstruct the work in view. That is the article itself. In other words, his plan was to tell us how to go about a book review, because some of his students are also on the platform. Like I said, he is the head of Department of Languages and Literary Studies at Adeleke University. He's an associate professor there. So the book review, according to Dr. Tobalashe, writing a book review is not simply about summarizing. It actually is a critical discussion of the book so that others get an idea of what the book is about and what to expect when reading it. And he identified the following steps to be taken when you endeavor to do one, as indeed our first book reviewers did. Those are the fellows that review the book of the late distinguished scholar, Dr. Muhammad Adamu, some few weeks ago. So Tobalashe identified the following. One, read the book or article and take notes. In other words, don't try to regurgitate it from your brain. Just make sure you take note. It's very good. Think about the book's genre, that is field of study. determine the major argument and theme or themes of the book or article. Consider the author's writing style and indeed about what I would call a biographical pedagogical discourse of the author. Oftentimes, we read books, we read articles without really understanding a kind of short biography of the author. And I think it's important so that we know where he or she is coming from, and then we can have a better understanding of his or her choice of theme or title or focus. So for the book, he also said you should evaluate and critique the book or article. You wrap up your review, you give concluding thoughts. In other words, you are not just criticizing or praising the author, you are also giving some reasonable comments that are useful and usable for others. He gave, on the other slide, the next slide, he gave bibliographical information about the focus, that is the title, the articles being reviewed. He gave us the title, which I will not repeat, and the authors of the book, or the articles, excuse me, Andrew Baldwin, Christine Froelich, and Delph Roach, or Roach. Place of publication, Taylor and Francis. Date of publication, 2019. And the genre, that is the focus, is migration studies. You see, migration study, as we all come to realize, is multidisciplinary. And the multidisciplinary nature of it makes it relevant, even to our present situation. And for the future, it will remain relevant, in my opinion. And based on the presentation since March, you will come to agree with me that whether you are in the sciences, you are in the humanities, you are in the arts, you are in education, technology, indeed it is relevant. It is not just about the humanities, it is not just about the social sciences, it is not an absence of STEM, and more importantly, we should not say it is all about STEM. In my opinion, STEM without the H, that is humanities and social sciences, is a futility in a, that will come to haunt us. And that is exactly what Dr. Tobalashe is trying to point out here. The article is a discourse on climate migration and Anthropocene mobilities. Of course, the marrying well of human beings and the condition in their various locations. In other words, the environment dictates, the migration, whether seasonal or permanent. And as we all know, whether we talk about the Windrush and that unfaithful ship to London that was refused to bat, or we talk about even the Sahara Desert in ancient times, or we talk about stowing away, and hiding yourself in the ship all because you want to go. Or we're talking about the 52, 53 medical doctors that were refused departure by the Customs and Immigration of Nigeria recently. We're talking about the environment and the nexus between the environment and us. I think in our previous presentation, it was Dr. Poirier, the head of one of the two departments in law, that presented something about environment and what have you. So this article is quite germane for our intellectual discourse. It is also about climate change, and the author, according to Dr. Tobalashe, presented this. So let me quickly move on because of our time to share with you Dr. Tobalashe's view about the article. One, it clearly is a scholarly work written by 3 authors. The authors are from different fields of study, who bring in their different views, who bring in their different views and their perspectives, thus making the work robust. I did not read this
Hello.
PowerPoint. Hello, is that Dr. Tobalashe? Dr. Tobalashe, is that you? Well, I'll continue. I didn't read this, and
Yes, sir.
interesting. Okay, can you start? I mean, continue with my views. The slide showing that your views. That will be the third to the last. I've presented your previous thoughts.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I don't know what happened here, but there seems to be technical issues from here.
You
Can
did
you
not
hear me,
see
sir?
you did not see the Timi of Ede, just like Oladejo did not see the Olubadan of Ibadan. You guys did not pay libation.
I guess so, sir. Thanks for holding forth
Go ahead.
while I couldn't you couldn't hear me. I at least followed what you have said, and you have done a yeoman's job, sir. So I want to thank you specially. Before I go ahead, I also want to appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to be doing this presentation. Professor Ibikunle Tijani happens to be my boss when I joined University. He was the one actually who interviewed me and got me into the job I presently hold. He was the then Dean of the Faculty of Arts when I joined here some 8 years ago. Now, I'll continue with the presentation because I know I don't have so much time left. Well, for my own views of this work, it's a 10-page work, as has been said. It's an article that is published in Mobilities, which is a journal that deals with migration issues. Now, in my view, this work is a clearly scholarly work that is written by 3 authors. The 3 of them happen to be of different fields, so they are from different backgrounds, and because of their different backgrounds, they have brought in their views into making this work a very robust one. Like I said, this work is published in Mobilities, which is an international journal that is published by Routledge. And at the date of the download of this article, the work has had over 2,509 online views. Now, in knowledge on the study of mobilities, but of course dealing with both climate and humans, not just climate now. But in my view, I feel the work also lacks a few things that I would have loved for it to have. Firstly, the structure of the work is not very clear, as there are no headings, there are no abstracts. There are, you can't tell where the body of the work was a bit complex. In fact, I picked it up a few times and dropped it. And then as this was happening, I remembered my undergraduate days when I was in Unilag, reading the works of our Nobel laureate, Wole Soyinka, the interpreters. I had to drop the interpreters a few times before I was able to comprehend what Wole Soyinka was trying to say. I had like a deja vu when I also started reading this work. But after a second, a third, and a fourth read, I was able to have a grasp of what the authors were trying to portray. Now, the work also lacks an abstract, like I said, and this will have actually helped the readers to know the focus of the discourse from the onset, unless, of course, perhaps it is the house style of Mobilities not to structure their works in that way and also have an abstract for their works. Now, being written by 3 scholars, the language style of each of the contributors is different. And this was quite discernible to me, to at least me. I don't know whether if others read it, they'll be able to decipher that the languages are different. But I was able to pick out that the languages used by these 3 authors were quite different. Now, my concluding thoughts on this work is that this research work has achieved what it set out to achieve from the onset. And this is to stimulate a debate within scholars of migration. Also, it has spurred my own interest in the study of mobilities. Before now, I have not done anything about mobilities. But reading this work, I have done a little research also on mobilities. And I'm hoping that in the nearest possible time, I will be able to do a study on mobilities in my own field, which is literary studies. Like Professor Tijani said earlier, mobility studies deals with almost all genres of study, all fields of study. So I'm looking forward to doing a research on mobilities in literary studies. This work has also contributed to an ongoing debate. They started by debating actually, and of course, they also are living not without generating other debates for other scholars to pick up and then look into. Now, I will encourage every one of us to try pick up this work, which is titled From Climate Migration to Anthropocene Mobilities, Shifting the Debate. And I'm sure by the time we all pick up these works, we'll be able to see what these authors are trying to do. And we also see that this work is not limited to any field of study, but that it actually cuts across all fields of academic endeavors you might think about. I want to say thank you again for listening. I'm sorry for the technical issues we had much earlier, but I hope you will be able to take one or two things away from this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tobalashe. Thank you very much, Dr. Oladejo. Since you are the second waves of scholars concerning these topics, you will be asked questions and then comments. I have asked Dr. Aquino to unmute. I have asked Dr. Adakole, the Dean of Law, to unmute. I have asked the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adamu, to unmute. So I will allow the Dean of Law, can you unmute, sir? I've asked you to unmute. So yeah. Dr. Aquino, you go first, followed by the Dean of Law, and then the Vice Chancellor. We wrap it up.
Thank you, Prof. Well done for a job well done. And Dr. Oladejo, I enjoyed your presentation. I'm not surprised. I know you are a seasoned lecturer. However, Dr. Oladejo did not talk about education, either as risk or opportunity to the unusual migrants, nor did he mention the age group mostly involved in unusual migration. So I want to know that, is there anything about education concerning risk or any opportunity maybe along the way? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Or whether or not the author, the original author, mentioned such factor, because Dr. Oladejo, like Dr. Tobalashe, borrowing another person's passport to go to Cotonou, that's a joke. So please, the next person, can you speak to us?
Is it me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. First of all, let me thank the presenter for doing a beautiful job in reviewing the book. I think my observation will go to the author of the text.
Which of the books?
The first one. The first one, the first presenter. Yes. Much effort were placed on the social or economic hazard irregular migrant face. And I don't see any discussion on the legal hazard, irregular migrant, otherwise called undocumented workers, migrant face. If you look at Article 5B of the International Convention on the protections of rights of all migrant workers and members of their family, it specifically denied undocumented or irregular migrants legal rights. And if you look at that convention, which is the United Nations Convention, there are a whole lot of protections for migrant workers, which an irregular migrant or undocumented migrant is not, or is not allowed to enjoy. So I would like the author to also look at the implication. Yes, he has talked so much about the socio-economic implication or hazards that undocumented or irregular migrants face. But what about the legal aspect? The law is there, it's certain. They don't have right to unfair treatment. They cannot associate. They can be bundled at any time and taken away. In fact, it is a total zero consideration for irregular migrants under the law. And I think that is a gaping hole in the book. There's no discussion about that. It's not the fault of the reviewer. I think the author should also look at that. There's a law guiding that aspect that has not been discussed in the book. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then the Vice Chancellor, sir. And then
well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, for all these. I see the old man is in his usual chair. He hasn't moved. It looks like he stays there permanently. He doesn't move for a whole week. I don't know what he does the rest of the week. Yeah, I'm the only person allowed to call him the old man. Now, I think we are missing one point here. We are doing a meta-critique. A meta-critique. These books or articles have already been reviewed by other professors or other professional reviewers. Our interpretation of the reviewer's reviewer. These things have already been published, and they are published based on reviews made by other people. Routledge and all these heavy-duty publishers don't just publish any yama work. They send it to professors who are experts in that particular field, and these guys endorse it. Then they are giving it to them to change and so on. On Friday, I was given a book. I was sent a book through DHL from London. It took 2 years of up and down of before eventually it was published, and I got my own copy on Friday. So the publishing process is so rigorous, at least internationally, not in Nigeria, where you can go to any roadside publisher and just simply get whatever you want printed. It's so rigorous that the Dean of Law and Mrs. Apena are talking about a person who has already scaled through the process of criticism. He has already been criticized by other people. So what we probably need to look at is how well do Tobalash is Tobalash, yeah, not Tobalash.
All of the above. Yes,
okay.
All of the above.
Tobalash and Oladejo, how well did they capture the essence of the book enough for somebody to say, I'm going to buy this book? This is what I think we ought to focus attention on, not the original arguments of whether those who wrote the book or the article did it well or they didn't do it well. The fact that they were published by international and well-recognized publishers indicate at least they were of acceptable quality in their arguments and methodology and things like that. So let me start with Oladejo. Oladejo was talking about what I would have expected or Professor Oladejo to do is, while reviewing a book like this, update your review to make the book more relevant, so that if the author of the original book sees your review of his book, it will prompt him to create a second edition of that particular book. For instance, just last week, my daughter lives in UAE, United Arab Emirates. She lives in a city called Ras Al Khaimah. And she sent me an article in which advertisements were placed in Dubai newspapers asking for cleaners, but except Nigerians. All nationalities are welcome except Nigerians. And they highlighted except Nigerians in yellow to draw attention to the fact that Nigerians are now not qualified to even clean toilets in Dubai. They are not wanted to clean toilets, okay? They are not wanted to clean cars. Why? Because of an immigrant, this hush puppy or whatever he calls himself, who went and did some scam. And then just yesterday also, there was another, somebody's going around naked. That's why a lot of people are blinking their video. Anyway, there was an article in which an African, they didn't say a Nigerian, they said an African was hanging around a bank in Naif, and that is again in UAE, and the police were called, and he tried to grab the gun of one of the policemen, but eventually he's arrested. He's lucky they will take him to court. Instead of, if it were in Saudi Arabia, they would just chop off his head like that without even wasting time. Now, black man, so there are too many black people anyway. So the problem, the point I'm making is both the two reviewers will have enriched their review by pointing out recent events that supported the original arguments made by the reviewers themselves, for instance, this hash puppy. Another thing for Oladejo is that he mentioned that the original article book talked about stringent enforcement of migration policies. This is done in Agadez, in Niger Republic. If anybody is caught helping people to migrate through Agadez, he is charged, he's sentenced to 20 years in jail. And one of the people traffickers complained. He said in a week, he makes $6,000. In a week, he makes $6,000 carrying people through the desert to the Libyan border. So there is such a policy. So what he could have done is to see how such policies are really imposed by other countries. And that will actually show the weakness of that article, which was just published last year. And this policy was also in place last year. And as you could see, there is a reduction in the number of migrants going through Niger as a result of this a very, very tough policy. And then he also mentioned that a lot of people are irregular migrants. I mean, if I go to Warsaw and teach for a year, that does not make me an irregular migrant because I don't want to stay there. I'm a visitor. So we have to distinguish between a visitor and an immigrant. A visitor is somebody who goes there, performs a particular activity, and then leaves. An immigrant is somebody who goes there and starts to stay there and work there. So that is for Oladejo. For Tobalese, yeah, whatever. Normally when you review an article, one line is enough to indicate the bibliographical information of that article. You know, name of the book, publisher, page numbers, the cost, that is the price of the book, and so on. One line, that's all. But you spend a whole slide just giving us all this information, which is a little bit overkill in my view. So preliminary information about the publishers will appear first. You don't need a whole slide for this bibliographical thing. This book has already been reviewed. I mean, the article has already been published by somebody who has gone with the review. But you mentioned that it will be the house style because you mentioned that they don't have what is it, abstract. They don't have keywords or whatever. Maybe some don't care about all those things. So that's not for you. When you are reviewing a book, you just an article, you just look at exactly what the article says, and then your own perspective as a professional in that particular field. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Dr. Ada, you can go ahead. I've asked you to unmute yourself. Dr. Ada.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. I want to commend them for wonderful jobs done. And I want to take a particular interest to Dr. Oladejo, the first presenter. I want to bring to his, I expected him to point out, because he mentioned regular migrants and irregular migrants many times, and then he failed to point out that irregularity does not refer to the individuals, but to their migratory status at a certain point in time. So we should know that changes in national laws and policies can turn a regular migrant into an irregular, migrant, and vice versa. So the status, it is worthy to note that the status of migrants can change, during their journey and stay in the country of transit or a destination, which makes it difficult to have a comprehensive picture of irregular migration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will leave both Dr. Oladejo and Dr. Tobalashe to kindly respond, 1 minute each, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much. Who would like to go first? Tobalashe or Oladejo?
Well, I guess I have.
I will mute both of you.
Yes, I don't.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't have so many questions asked, except for the comments of the Vice Chancellor saying I made an overkill by giving so much information on the bibliographical information. Well, the purpose why I did that is to stir up the interest of people to be able to look for the work. I decided to put it on a spread so that all the information is there. People who have it can actually look for that work and then try to read it. But all points taken, I agree with the Vice Chancellor on what he has said. I should have made it in like just a paragraph. I will take note of that. Now, for the work, well, the major thing I did was just to look at what the writers have done. The idea they were bringing forth is that most people tend to think that when you talk about mobilities, the climate change is usually caused by the burning of fuel or fossil. But these writers are saying that no, that's not the only thing that makes people to move. People move because of social issues also, not just because the climate is changing and all of that. And that's why I try to bring out in that work. But all points noted, Professor, the Vice Chancellor, sir, we all keep getting better by learning. It's a good thing that I'm on this platform and I've learned a few things from what you have said also. And in fact, Professor Dr. Oladejo's work, I also think I want to go and look at it and take a look at what the book has said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Oladejo.
Yeah, thank you very much, the director. Let me start from Professor Ada. Well, you are right in your submission, Mark, but I need to quickly point it out that even the original book is one of the weaknesses that I noticed in the book, because the author did not actually define irregular migration at all. So I expected that he would define it at the introductory aspect, which he did not. Because when I pick up the document, I was having the impression that he should have used illegal migration. But if he had already defined what irregular migration means, it would have been better. And in addendum, the status actually changes of this irregular migration. And that is why the author actually talked about undulating legality. So that is by the way. Then, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I just want to say that I just want to thank you for reviewing the review work that I did, because I also learned one or two things now. There is a conversion that I made to Professor Ibikule that I will want to make it in the public space here. But thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor, for reviewing the review work that I did. Thank you very much. Then the Dean, Faculty of Law, yeah, you are very correct. But I, like you made the point, your comment is actually at the original author. Maybe if I'm able to get across to the author, this type of your observation will also be incorporated, because actually irregular migration, talks about legal or something. Then Mrs. Apino, Dr. Mrs. Apino, thank you very much. The author did not mention education as one of the risks. Maybe the children will not be able to further the education or whatever, but this is part of the things that I also noticed in the work. So for the submissions made so far, I think I've also learned one or two things. And once again, I thank the director for giving me this opportunity. I wish to come again and do another review in the better form. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for finding time to join us. And I thank you for all your comments. We really appreciate all of you for being with us and supporting us every Monday. As I stated, our first quarter report is ready, and we will be sharing with you. So I will have a last comment by the Vice Chancellor to wrap it up. I want to mute all, and then I'll mute the VC. Oops. Okay. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, I'm surprised the old man didn't say anything, because he usually have something to say. He's one of the most grandest old man I've ever come across. I'm really going to miss him. I hope I have exactly 6 months to depart what I call Nineveh, but I hope I will be part of. Yeah, I hope I'll be part of this seminar series if I'm still wanted. My suggestion is that during the time we are presenting or talking and discussing, one lady was appearing totally naked. Okay, I know some of the men are excited, but who knows? Even some of the women may be excited. But I think it is improper for you to become naked in public. When you are in your personal bedroom, the best thing to do is to use a background. Like I have a background now that I can change. Zoom provides many backgrounds that you can download and then use it to shield where you are. Just make sure that the background enables people to see you. The Dean of Law is using a background, but the background is shielding him. We're not seeing him. He is being dissolved in the background. So experiment with the various backgrounds until you get the one that suits you. I'm not insisting that people should use a particular background because there's no particularly recommended background. But for instance, I have changed my background to NOUN, okay? So this is a NOUN background, and nobody needs to see my bedroom or my nakedness or something like that. So please, I urge you, if you're in a private space, make it private. I mean, there was a woman, I'm sure all of you saw it. You just don't want to talk about it. She was showing things that are like hanging fruits all over the place. So it is not good at all. We should do that. And thank you, Tobalas, and Oladejo for being with us. And I think it's wonderful that we have quote outsiders coming into this. I think it's just wonderful. We are expanding the scope of the discussion, not limiting it to an inbreeding process where everybody is operated to criticize. Because if I criticize you, when I do the presentation, you criticize me. That's what normally happens in an inbreeding process. So everybody keeps saying, oh, you have done a good job, wonderful, wonderful, even though it is not wonderful. And you know it is not wonderful, but everybody has to say it's wonderful so that when I come to present, you say it's wonderful. So thank you very much, Oladejo and Tobalis, for coming, and I hope we'll get more people from other places who would also participate there. You also need to expand your net a little bit, try to be national. Let's get somebody from Nsukka, from the University of Uyo, somebody. I mean, I know you are in your comfort zone. I mean, you want to get your boys. These are Tobalis, this is your boy. So you want to get your boys, but don't be that. Get somebody who's your boss, somebody who controlled you, so that you can say, this is my boss, this is the person who made me what I am. Let us hear him. Let's hear somebody from Auka, from Nsukka, from Maiduguri, from some, expand, down. This is something, particularly those who live in Maiduguri and Sokoto. They are the ones who always see the flow of migrants heading towards the Niger Republic. So how does that impact on their economy? How does that impact on their society when suddenly there is an influx of strangers? So, you need to really expand your, like Dr. Quaire, for instance, is an expert on Tuareg migration in the Sahel and things like that. So I just want you to expand your scope beyond your comfort zone so that we look at migration from all angles and from all perspectives. Thank you very much. And guys, have a wonderful day.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor for again reading the crystal ball and hitting the nail on the head, just like last week concerning certificate of presentation. Indeed, we will be having more external colleagues from the diaspora, from other places, and cutting across all disciplines. We have it scheduled. Again, one thing that is important about this center is that we will not force you. We will approach you, but we will not force you to present. We've approached some senior people, then they say, oh, they are not ready yet. But again, one of the initiatives is that starting from next month, we'll be having a distinguished professorial fellow, and the purpose of that is for them to share with us. We will always start at our comfort zone, that is people willing to present, to speak to us. And then if you see that, well, it's a good platform, you approach us. Again, I thank each and every one of you for being here today, and be safe. And then you can see this recording on YouTube. We record on YouTube, and then we post also. And then you can go to YouTube and share and subscribe. We have to sustain the center. We are doing something unique in that regards with YouTube because of what we discovered, that is indeed a good IGR in the long run for the university. As you subscribe and then you watch the video, if you miss it or you use it in your classroom, the sustainability is good. Let me also comment as we round up on this Marian Ohadiuga. Ohadiugha. That is the person that was totally unethical. Of course, I did not see her. Thank God she was in the other room. And when I got a private chat, I immediately put her in another room. So she's not even seeing us. You can't see her again. She can't hear us. But if you know Marian Ohadiuga, just let her know that there is indeed decorum, ethics, anywhere you go. Your privacy is your privacy. It's not for me. You see, I thank God I didn't see it because I'm fasting today. That is why I joined Professor Emeritus Sobolo to wear suit and tie. Thank you very much, all. God bless you. Bye-bye. I thought I was mute. Igbo woman, unfortunately, is still talking. Thank you.